I'm excited about this week because for the second time in 3 weeks, we have a distinguished panel of females that are going to be leading it off. Of course, Mother's Day is coming up, so this is kind of the pre-Mother's Day edition of our Lunch and Learn. And our guests today are Michelle Young, Rachel Whitten, and Jackie Carson, all of whom, by the way, I had the distinct pleasure to interview extensively for the just completed month-plus run of Inside Furman Athletics we did. And it was kind of a primer for this today because we talked a lot about this stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up by asking each of the coaches to kind of make an opening statement, give a little bit of an update of what's going on in their program now. And then, as always, we've got questions. And if you would like to send us some questions, you can do it in the chat. You can send them privately to either me or Ty, and then Ty will send them on to me. But Michelle has 3 children, Michelle Young, Brody, who's 18, Bailey, who's 15, and Bella, who's 11. Rachel has, I hope I'm saying this right, is it Eleni, who is 5, and Cole, who is 4. And then Coach Jackie Carson has 8-year-old London and 6-year-old Lathan. So that's the backdrop for this pre-Mother's Day edition. Michelle, I'm going to start with you. Just tell us how things are going. What's going on with your program right now?
Right now, the girls are working hard with finals, taking care of business. We've had several Zoom calls over this period of time, just staying connected with them. We're really happy with the work they're doing away from campus. It's a real self-motivated group, so it makes our job easy. They're working out, like I said, finishing up class. And then we have some alumni lined up to have some Zoom calls later on and in the month of May when we can resume those. We're bringing in some folks out in the professional world. They're going to meet with some of our girls. We've also been staying in contact with our incoming freshmen. We've got a pretty good class, pretty big class that we're excited about bringing in some new faces. But yeah, it's just kind of business as usual, except for obviously doing everything staring at a laptop, which is obviously getting old for everybody, but it is what it is. And we're in a good situation and our players are doing what they need to do. The staff's been great. So we're making the most of it.
Yeah, I say this half jokingly and half seriously with all the computer work that we've all been forced to do here lately. Number one, find time to give your eyes some rest. And number two, it might not hurt to get them checked. I just had mine done last week, and guess what? New glasses time. So just a little bit of background there for you. Rachel Whitten, how are things going?
It's going good. Very similar to Michelle, obviously doing a lot of Zoom. Our season was obviously a spring season, so we got cut short right in the middle of it. So super bummed for the girls about that. They worked so hard, and we'd had a tough start to our schedule with out-of-conference games, and I think we were starting to kind of hit the ground running when things got cut short. But we've really just tried to stay connected through Zoom. All of April, my assistant Erin put together a challenge where every day they got sent something, whether it was do 50 push-ups in a minute, or it was Volleyball Wednesday, and they did stuff kind of back and forth, and you got points for things, and it was quizzes, or it was just a lot of fun to watch the girls respond to stuff super quickly. And so that just ended, and now they're in exams. So we're giving them a little bit of break from seeing our faces on Zoom. We did a family trivia night as well, and then we've done an alumni kind of Zoom call. But we'll get started back up again after exams finish up. And then kind of in the summer, we're kind of looking at how to get ourselves prepared for coming back in August and September, and what the fall will hopefully look like, but still trying to build as a team, because I think everyone's going to be stuck at home for a little bit longer for sure. So what can we kind of do? And Jackie actually, which I'll probably steal from her, has something that she's been doing with her team called the program, which we're going to actually start implementing as well. And I think it'll be a good leadership tool to start building the off-field stuff.
Great job. Jackie Carson, in the radio business, we call that a segue. How are things going with you, and what is the program?
Yeah, things are going well for women's basketball. Luckily, we were able to get the majority of our season. We were super disappointed that we couldn't continue into postseason like we had planned, but everything happens for a reason is what we say often in our program. And so the program that Rachel alluded to is a leadership program. So we were emailed by one of the consultants, Nick Gray, and it's like a military style leadership program. So we've had our seniors participate in one group, and then we've had a team-wide Zoom call in that group just to kind of develop our leaders. Obviously, we graduated 2 super talented seniors, and we want to make sure that our junior class evolves into that great leadership, because that's everything for your culture and your program. Outside of that, we've also had our girls meet a lot with mental health professionals. This is a tough time, and we want to make sure they're taken care of. So they've done a lot of Zoom meetings with mental health. And we've also done, we went back a little bit to elementary school days. We've been pen pals. So, which has been interesting, because you don't realize that a lot of people don't know how to write a letter, and our girls saying, how does the address go and where's the stamp? You know, it's just technology is kind of taken over. So we've done pen pals, and that's been really fun to read and receive letters from everyone. So we've just been trying to continue to build our relationships and just endure during this tough time.
I like it. Throwing a little old school in there.
Yeah, old school. You need
I
it.
like it.
Yeah.
Every one of these women and every woman on here, obviously, who is a mother, just needs to be applauded. I know, and being married almost 31 years now, what my wife has accomplished and tried to accomplish in me and tried to accomplish in our children, while most of the time working a full-time job for part of that in the world of retail management, which is brutal, and now in the school system. And all of these women are negotiating the same trail here. And that's why we're celebrating them today. Michelle Young, I'll come back to you now. Your kids are older, 18, 15, and 11. When we did the radio interviews, I remember talking with both Rachel and Jackie, because their kids are younger, about playing defense as much as everything else they were doing. Is it a little bit easier for you in this particular scenario because your kids are older and maybe a little more self-sustained? Or do you even want to use the word easy?
No, absolutely. I would not want to be wrangling little kids in quarantine for this long. I would not handle that well. They're very self-sufficient. We wake up, they get started with their work, and then we kind of all randomly sometimes meet for lunch, and then everybody goes back and finishes up. My 18-year-old's at work today. Like, I haven't even seen, he just woke up, went to work, so I don't even have to worry about him. And he actually finished his classes yesterday, so he's officially done with high school. He may make us crazy in the month of May with nothing to do. And then even the 11-year-old, she's making her own breakfast and going to work and doing Zoom call, or they do Google Classroom. Easy is the word.
Okay, I didn't want to overstep a bound there and use a word that you didn't want to use, even if that was true.
No, I am so thankful my kids are older this time, for sure.
On the other end of the spectrum, I'll go back to Jackie first, and then to Rachel. Jackie, when I talked to Rob later in the radio show, we're kind of talking about the roles you guys are in at the house now, and he said that you were the school teacher for your two, and I said, well, does that make you the principal? And he said, no. I think his answer was he was more like the lunch guy and the janitor, and you were the teacher and the principal.
Yes, so I'm more the administrative professor teacher role, and we originally called him the cafeteria worker. He wanted to be upgraded to cafeteria chef. So he has done a great job of feeding us. He's it's a bonus to have a husband that is a great cook, and so he has made sure our breakfast, and then we have lunch, and then we'll alternate dinners. But I have so much more respect for anyone who is an elementary school teacher. This has been absolutely, my poor 6-year-old is over it. And I think we have 3 weeks to go. London, my 8-year-old, she is very self-sufficient. She's in the 3rd grade, and both at Pelham Road. And the 3rd graders have Chromebooks. So she gets on her Chromebook and she just rolls. She knows how to get to all of her assignments. Again, they both had a Google Meet this morning at 10 or at 11. So we had a head coaches meeting at 10, me and Rob, and then at 11, both of them pop in and they go on their Google Meets. And so it's been nonstop. But like I said, my 6-year-old is very social. She doesn't get this. She is over it. As she told me, this is not real school. So yeah, we had to make some adjustments, but it's been a blessing. But I definitely have a whole new respect for elementary school teachers.
Now that wasn't a commentary on your teaching abilities or teaching style, was it?
No, that the one good thing about it, she's like, I don't like this, but I do like that mommy's my teacher.
There you
So
go.
the great thing about this is we've been able to spend so much time with the girls that we normally are not able to do. So that is the blessing. It's not my teaching skill. She just wants to see her friends and all that kind of stuff. She did say the good thing is that mommy's my teacher.
Outstanding. And when I heard Rob was doing the cooking, the first thing that came to mind was Adam Sandler's Lunch Ladyland song. So maybe someone can look that up too. Rachel Whitten, the far other end of the spectrum, you've got the two youngest kids among the group we're talking about here at ages 5 and 4. How's your mental stability right now?
You know, it comes and goes. Most of the time I'm good. I'll have my moments where I'm over it, just like everybody is. But my situation is a little different. My husband's still able to go into his job, which I think we're so thankful for. And it's good because it kind of keeps us in some kind of routine. I tried at the beginning of this to, I've made out schedules, color coded. It was like, we're going to brush our teeth at this time and this time. We've totally revamped, and now we do schoolwork in the morning for an hour, and then in the afternoon we pick a sport and we play a sport. And it's way easier in a sense that they're 4 and 5. I think I was a little over kind of jumping the gun with some things, so we just ordered a couple books from Amazon. We do the lessons. She's in kindergarten, Eleni, so her lessons are very kind of simple. We're learning how to read. So that's really the main thing we focus on is her reading. And he just has a letter of the day every day. That is a battle still, but his work isn't just more hang at the table and be good.
I don't know if any of you want to answer this or not. I'll just throw this out there. But I think I mentioned maybe to all of you that, it was maybe just a week or so into this school shutdown that I saw on Facebook that somebody had gone out and scraped "My kid is a terrific student at such and such school" bumper sticker off their car. And I think Jackie mentioned that she has a whole lot more respect for the teaching profession, especially at that age now. So I think we all reach our limits once in a while. I've had a couple of questions submitted. I'll to tell you again, if you're watching this, you can submit questions in the group chat. Just send them privately to either me or Ty, and I'll give all three of you a chance to answer this, and we'll go back to Michelle first. But Caitlin Bernardi says, what are some keys in managing 2 full-time jobs? Obviously, one being a mother and the second one being a Division I college coach. How do you do that, Michelle?
Well, I mean, I think that it's always a battle when you're trying to do multiple things really well. You're giving on one when you're doing the other. And I think, I do talk a lot about balance with our athletes because, they're having to be an athlete, they're having to study, they're trying to be social, they're trying to, get the college experience. I think it's, kind of early training for what we're doing now. I think you kind of have to, for me, and this is my fault, you got to give yourself a little bit of a break as far as, there are going to be days when you do one better than the other. And just kind of, be a little easy on yourself. Sometimes you're not going to do both perfect. You're definitely not going to be able to both at the same time. And I think that's kind of my strategy is I do try to separate the two. My players know who my family is. They know my kids. They come over and eat here. But I'm really good at when I'm at practice, forgetting about my family. And when I'm home, I'm really good at forgetting about my team. And I can separate those two. I do want them to, meet in the middle, but I don't want to have like my kids running around and distracting my athletes as well. And so I think it is important to work on the balance, knowing that, if you're doing one, obviously you're giving on the other one. And that's just part of it. You have to be able to prioritize. For me, it's seasonal, like in the fall. I know I'm in season. I know that my husband is in season, and things are going to get wild. And my kid is more than likely going to be the last one to get picked up at after school. And that's just I'm just gonna have to be okay with that. I cannot beat myself up with that because I'm at practice and I need to, I need to focus on those players while I'm with them. Just like when it's time for me to transition into mom, I need to, focus on my kids. I don't always do that the way I want to. There are times when I am buried in my closet on the phone with the recruit when my kids were small, with a kid outside banging on the door, and you just aren't a great mom at that moment. But you need to talk to a recruit that evening, and those are the stressful times, I think, when your worlds are colliding and you're not able to do it the way you want to do it. And I think you just got to kind of give yourself a break. It's just like a lot of people who are juggling a lot of things. And but there are moments when you are like, man, this was a great practice, or this is, wow, I was super mom for a moment. And really give yourself credit when you can as well. I think too much time people put pressure on themselves to be perfect at everything, and it's just not going to happen. I'm not saying you lower the expectation, but I think you want to go into it with a realistic attitude. It's just like anything. The more things you do, something's going to suffer. So I'm able to say no to things a lot. I'm not the super PTA mom at the school. I am the mom flying in on 2 wheels with practice clothes on, and I look like crap majority of the time, and I just have to be okay with that sometimes. So, I mean, that's kind of how I approach it. I think if you're trying to be perfect in all of them, you're just going to slowly go crazy, and it's just going to snap at some point.
Jackie, Carson, you've been at the helm of the women's program here for about 10 years now. And you've been a mom for 8 of those 10 years. Are you at the point now where you've found that balance, or is it a continuing learning process?
I know. I think it's nonstop learning, and it's a nonstop balance. And the cool thing about it, it's really cool to hear Michelle's perspective. And I know Rachel and I have talked about this in the past, and hear everyone's perspective, and just other girlfriends that I have in the business. It's completely different for everyone, just depending on where your kids are, and one way is not better for anyone. It just works better for you. So I'm kind of the opposite of Michelle. My girls are everywhere. And I think it's more for my sanity a little bit, because I do get those guilty moments where I'm not around them, so, I'm like a lot of moms in our business. I handle our schedule, which is normally something, the director of ops does, but selfishly I use it as an opportunity. Okay, here's practice. I might be able to get to London's game. Both of the girls are heavily involved in sports, and I try to make sure I can sneak and see 30 minutes of the game, because as important as it is for me to be around our current student athletes, I also think it's really important for them to see me as a mom and to see me in my other element. And it's also important for my girls to see me at their games and at their school events and stuff like that. So I've been blessed to be at Furman for, like you said, for both girls' entire lives. They bleed purple. Everything on their notebooks is a diamond F. Everything at school, they will fight, not physically fight, but it's like school spirit day on Fridays, and they are going with they don't understand like the BCS thing. They are going at the Clemson people. Why are you at Clemson? Blah, blah. Like, they are fighting for Furman because this is all they know. And they, they come in and they show the posters of our girls and the other student athletes. I think Jordan came and spoke at their class, and London went crazy, Jordan Lyons. And then, Lathan says all her big sisters and, the girls on the team, and she can call them whenever. Like, so they're using it as status. But that's the blessing for me, is that I got to have that balance. Otherwise I feel really, really bad. Because I want to be able to see my kids. And so sometimes they're at practice and they're standing next to me in the circle, and they're helping run drills, and our girls will shoot free throws while our girls, and they just kind of see me in both elements all the time. So that helps me keep my sanity, because I get down if I'm not able to see my kids and feel like that I'm there for them, but I also get down if I'm not feeling like I'm being a great coach for my team. So the only way that I can really feel good about that and be the best in both worlds is when I make them collide a little bit, and my players are at practice and my kids are going to be there. And at the same time, my girls are at the YMCA, my whole team walks in and they're supporting them at their game. So it's been good. But London also gives probably the most brutal post-game speeches that I could ever, by far, they're like are on their toes when she walks in the locker room after a game, because she's going to say, well, we won, but we didn't rebound well and you didn't work hard enough. And how are we going to win a championship if you don't do this? And she goes at them pretty good. So sometimes they're not happy to see her.
I wonder where she's heard that before.
I have no clue. Like, she's
No
worse
idea.
than me, honestly. I promise. She is more brutal than I am.
So Rachel, you've heard two kind of different answers to that question about balancing or managing being a full-time mom and a full-time coach. Do you tend to lean to one or the other, or do you have a third option?
I mean, I think it'd be a mix, or maybe a little bit more towards Jackie. My kids are right now younger, so I do bring them around, but I don't have as much, I have control of my children, but it's hard to have a little 4-year-old boy not understand he can't run in the middle of 7v7. And so I'll bring them to practice, but luckily where our locker room is, I'll put them in the locker room, and don't get me wrong, they walk down about every 5 minutes to ask a question. But it gives a little bit of a balance. But the kids absolutely adore my team. I think they ask about the girls all the time. Where are the girls? Can we have a party with the girls? One way I've kind of looked at it is my support system is huge for me. So my husband is allowing me to pursue my dream to be a coach. And so, we were in Denver, Colorado, where he would love to live in this moment, but he is allowing us to live here because of this is my dream. And now we've made Greenville our home. And it's the same thing with my assistants. It's not a requirement of my assistants to love children, but it's great when there is a good balance. And I have had assistants in the past that maybe it's not the right fit as far as children, but they've still loved my children. They just might not play with them every moment they get a chance. But I think having my daughter and son around the team allows my team to see that you can be a mom and be a coach, and you can find a balance. You can still do it well. And it is hard. It is very hard. There's moments where you're wanting to think about something. And Michelle, I wish I could just forget about, this when I'm in this moment and this when I'm in this moment. I'm trying to get there. I think I will the more I do this, but it is nice when you do lose a game. You don't ever want to lose, but you come home and you don't get to sit down and just sulk, because the minute you walk in the door, your children want to see you. They want to play with you. So you almost have to save it for later in the night when maybe I don't sleep, but at least for those couple hours I play with my children, I'm forgetting about something that was frustrating. And then same thing, I never bring in anything that, with my children, I don't bring it into practice. I walk onto the field and I literally try to focus on the team. Now in the back of my head, there might be things, but overall I try to kind of balance that out.
All right, Caitlin, thank you for the question. I hope that's some good advice for you there. I'll stay with Rachel for this one and kind of go back in reverse order. And again, your kids are younger, so it may not be applicable yet. You can tell me you're not, but are you encouraging, or do you encourage your children to be competitive athletes?
Yeah, we're still kind of getting that going. Soccer is the main thing that we've had them in, just because I think for most children, it's an easy sport to jump in. It's a team sport. They have to figure out how to work together, but it's not trying to, we were out yesterday trying to play lacrosse, and my son was extremely frustrated. He couldn't catch the ball, but it takes a little while for that to go. Where soccer, we can kind of jump right in. We were supposed to start T-ball right before all of this happened. So we're hoping once YMCA gets going again. But I think competitive sports are great. We don't let our children win everything. If we're playing a game, last night we played a silly game that my daughter was crying about because she couldn't build the tallest jungle gym. And my husband and I were kind of competing against each other to see who was overall. But that's and then when she's crying, we're like, if you're going to cry, you can't play. And then at least hopes to build that mentality that you're not always going to win. We're not everybody gets a trophy kind of family. That wasn't how it was for me. And so, I want them to learn now that if you want to win, you got to work hard and you got to learn. And it's frustrating for them, but we're getting there.
And Jackie, based on part of your previous answer, I get the idea that your family is not an everybody gets a trophy mentality family either.
No, hardly. We're very competitive. Rob and I have always agreed that we can't play against each other or anything because we'll get divorced. And so, but our kids are extremely competitive. I have no idea where they get it from, but they keep scores all the time. Even when we're trying not to get them to keep score, Lathan would be like, oh, why they keep resetting the score at the YMCA, because they reset it after every quarter, but she keeps tabs about what the score is in her head. And I just want them to be active. You know, that's the number one thing. And I have a little bit different reasoning, especially Lathan, my younger one. She's going to be extremely tall. And so I want her to keep confidence. I want her to keep her shoulders back. I feel like sports, especially with females, just promotes a lot of confidence. And also, I mean, I want her to be very coordinated, because I think sometimes tall females can lose that if they're not being super active and just working on coordination. So more so, I think sports just taught me just to be really, really confident and to hold my head high and like be able to experience adversity, wins and losses and stuff like that. So I don't care. London already said she wants to be a WNBA player, which is pretty cool. She's really, really good at soccer though. So Coach Burma had to keep her on her radar. They're both, London's on a travel team this year. This past year was her first year with travel soccer, which Rob has been a rock star because he does a great job of getting her soccer practice and the travel soccer on the weekends. And then Lathan is trying out for travel soccer this year. So I have no idea how this is going to work. But it's been a blessing so far. So I'm just really happy. They've done the T-ball, they've done swim lessons, they've done basketball, they've done soccer. Lathan did ask to play football like daddy. I think he drew the line at that one. So I don't think we'll do football, but they are really active, which is great.
Well, hey, if anybody on Furman's campus knows about how to negotiate playing two collegiate sports at the same time, it'd be Andrew Burke.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
there you go. Michelle, how's the competition level around your place, and has it changed one way or another as your kids have gotten older?
Well, you know, when our kids were really young, you know, we're both coaches. So everybody assumed we had them in every sport available. And we honestly kind of took a different approach. You know, when they were little, they were around a little bit more. And like we were talking earlier, you know, different stages of life. Like my kids, when they were little, like they knew who all the, you know, they were really looked up to them. But now, you know, my son is the age of, I mean, you know, he's the age of the kids coming in, which is very different. And so they kind of, it's a different approach now. But when they were little, we didn't push it at all because, you know, they're getting drugged. I mean, they spend half their time out on a football field with their dad. Then if not, either running around with me or they're having to hear about it in the house all the time. And we kind of let them find it a little bit on their own. The good news is we've always been active. And, you know, we're always doing something. But I really just, my husband and I, we kind of just let them find it on their own. And some of them did. Our middle child is much more, she loves all sports. She gets all sports. She's like our jock. Our oldest son, he played football for his dad and did a great job with it and really enjoyed it while he was doing it. But he's kind of an artist too. He's very talented artistically. And we have no idea how to foster that, but we tried our best to help him with the things he wanted to do there. And then our youngest one, the jury's still out. You know, she picks up a sport and then, or she just likes to run the show. So she's more of someone who's just gonna tell everybody how to do it, whether she knows how to do it or not. But she does, you know, they all have an appreciation for it. They're all very active, which I think is important. But I guess when they were really little, we really did take a step back because it was so forced on them because of what their parents were doing. But yeah, there's just so many ways to do it. I think there's just so many opportunities for kids and different things to do. It's hard as a parent to navigate that. And then with our schedules a little bit, like Jackie, best of luck with the travel sports, because being on the other side of that and kind of in the middle of it, I'm so glad my son was not into baseball because would be a terrible baseball mom. I wouldn't be able to do it just because of the time commitment. So I'm not sad about that. But our middle, Bailey, is into everything and wants to do everything. She's like I was at her age. And so, you know, doing our best. And again, that's, if you saw someone in a white Honda Accord or a blue minivan flying by you, that might have been me trying to get my daughter to some kind of practice. And so I think it is something that was a little bit, we didn't push it, but they found it and they found their interest, which is great. And our daughter does swim. Our youngest does swim, and I love it because it's just it's so good for her. I know nothing about it, and it's in May, which is the quietest time for us. So I can really be a little more involved. And it's not such a race. I can sit and enjoy practice and not say anything, but just hang out. And so we've found some really good things that have fit, but by no means did we force it on them, because I think they're just so surrounded by it anyway. They're going to absorb some of that just by being around it all the time.
Jackie Carson, some guy named Jason Donnelly wants to know who's the most competitive Carson in the household, you or Rob, and who's the better dressed?
Oh, more competitive is out of Rob and I is probably me, mostly because he talks trash and it makes me mad. So it gets amplified a little bit. And then best dressed, I'm taking the title. He has more clothes though. So,
Really?
yeah, totally.
Yeah. If this weren't an all-female Mother's Day panel, I would give him a few minutes for rebuttal, but we'll save that for another time.
Oh, he's listening. You just started another fight, Jason. Thanks. We'll argue.
No, but I like how you didn't hesitate. You just
No, I'm taking it
both times.
Yeah.
That's great. Rachel, and this is probably a good question for all of you. I'll start with you. What kind of stereotypes have you had to battle as both a mother and a collegiate coach?
I think for me, I don't even listen to anything that would make it seem like you can't do this. My parents, when I was, have always taught me that you can do anything you want, you can make it work. And then when I got to the University of Denver as my first coaching collegiate job, my boss there was a mom and knew how to balance it. So I really don't feel like I see that many stereotypes because I don't want to. I would say the main question I get from majority of people who don't maybe understand my sport or what we're doing is they're so curious to wonder what I do when I'm not in season. Like you are year round, like you actually have a job year round. Is it like they don't realize the recruiting, that all the extra work that goes into it. I think that's like the main thing where you maybe find that frustration of like, yeah, this is a lot of work. It's not easy. There's a lot of moments where we do have, maybe a time here or there that someone who works a normal 9-to-5 job wouldn't, but outside of that, we work. I mean, if we got paid hourly, it'd be crazy.
No question about that. Michelle Young, any stereotypes that you've had to battle since you got into coaching and as being a mother?
No, I don't know anything different. I think it would be and I don't know if this really answers the stereotype question, but like I started coaching really young. I had my kids young. And I don't know anything other than coaching with kids. And so it's just so normal. I've had friends that have coached and maybe they didn't start their family until 15 years into their coaching career. That is probably a whole different, scenario, whole different answer. I just don't pay attention to it. Honestly, you're just too busy trying to coach and make it to a practice or a game or not beat yourself up about missing something because I just think sometimes people don't understand that you missed something. With this job comes a lot of flexibility. Like, I don't know how people who have to be in a chair from 8 to 5 with a 30-minute lunch do it. I think that would be very, very challenging. I have some flexibility, but then there are times where I have absolutely no flexibility. And if my kid is sick and I'm on a bus and she's got to be picked up from school, luckily I have the people in my life that have helped me do this, that will go pick my child up or take care of them or whatever. And I don't know if it's a stereotype, but there's definitely maybe some judgment if you were to pay more attention to it. you could get caught up. It could, bother you, because some people don't understand. What do you mean you can't get your sick kid, or you can't? Well, because I can't. I'm in a match or whatever. Like this fall, I really wasn't supposed to be able to go to my son's senior night for football. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't. And there was no adjusting. I had a match and I was on the road that night, and that's the night they have it. Luckily, I think some hurricane blew through and it changed the night, a senior night. And by some fluke, I was able to attend it. And it was like the biggest win of the season. And so I don't know if it's a stereotype thing, but I think there's just maybe a little bit of misunderstanding, like, because a lot of parents can make it, or a lot of moms especially, they make it to almost everything. And it's just not a reality for coaches. Yeah, I have a lot of flexibility and I can do some things, but there are times when you have absolutely none, and you're just going to have to be able to deal with it. I don't know if that is a stereotype thing, maybe more of a judgment by others thing.
Which can be the same thing. By the way, she got into coaching young, she had her kids young, and she married somebody named Young. She
Yes,
got the trifecta. How about that?
I do.
Jackie, stereotypes, judgments, have you had to face any of that since you got into this?
The craziest thing is the only time I face it is in recruiting. And I've had coaches in the past that will say, how can she be really good at, coaching her team? She's got young kids, or, she's pregnant, and which is the craziest thing, because ironically I became a better coach when I became a mom, and the first thing that I use in recruiting is that, most recruits want to hear about a family. Well, you see mine all the time. You see me in my element. You see me as a mom, you see me as a coach. And, there's some of our girls on this call, and God, to their defense, they see me as a mom too, because I make them do a lot of mom stuff. Like when they go somewhere, they have to text me on long trips, text me when you leave, text me when you get there. I call it I have a mama set of rules, so it's ironic that some people try to use it in recruiting as a disadvantage to why I can't pay attention in my current team. And I think my current team, or any recruits parents, will see it as an advantage. So it actually kind of backfires. But outside of that, I'm very similar to Rachel and Michelle. Like I've learned that, to not really worry about the opinions of people who really don't matter in your lives. And at the same time, we have a huge village around, and I have an amazing support system. I think Furman has always been a tremendous support system, the whole university as a whole, all the administrations I've worked with. It's just been a great village. So that's the only thing, probably, is just a couple of times, probably more times than not, it's been used a little against me in recruiting, but it always works out in our favor.
Rachel Whitten, Aaron Vale wants to know, as amazing female coaches here at Furman, and we'll give all of you a chance to answer this. I'll start with Rachel. What do you focus on specifically in recruiting female athletes to Furman?
I think one of the biggest things that I've always kind of preached, and it was because my playing experience and my first coaching job, is we're a family atmosphere. Very similar to Jackie, I talk about that in recruiting. My kids are around sometimes in the recruiting process, whether it's I'm on the road and I take them to Maryland because that's where my whole family is, and I drop them off and go out, or they're in my office when we might have a recruit stop by randomly. But so I think family is huge for us. I think we get a lot of girls from up north, so it's maybe not a 2-hour drive. Like we've got quite a few from Atlanta now, and it might be a quick up, but we get a lot of girls who are further away from home in a sense, but they might have an 8-hour drive or a plane ride. And so I think their parents knowing that when their daughter is here, that you're not just sending them off to Furman and good luck, but they have someone here who's going to look out for them. Maybe similar to Jackie. I don't necessarily make them text me all the time, maybe, but I'm involved, and it's an open door policy. Come in, talk to me about anything, hopefully not about lacrosse. Like I want to know what's going on in their family, or if they're struggling with something. And so I think that's a big aspect, and obviously you want to have strong athletes who are willing for us. We're still a young program. I still don't have that, this is my most amazing moment at Furman, because I want a championship that gets me into the national tournament. And that's what I'm looking for. And so that's what we're still building. team. Like we've had a lot of good milestones that we've hit, but in my recruiting process, I still get to kind of say, hey, you can still set records here. You can still start something. You can be the forefront and leave a legacy because we're still growing. And so we really try to kind of give them all of that aspect with really that, you know, they're going to come, they're going to play for me. And I always say, take coaching staff out of the picture. Can you see yourself at Furman? Take lacrosse out of the picture. God knows, injuries, things like that. But in the long run, I picked Loyola because I absolutely loved the coaches. I mean, I'm going to be honest, like it was one of the main reasons I wanted to go there. And so I think it's that connection that we build through the recruiting process.
Michelle, what do you look for specifically? What do you focus on when you're recruiting female athletes for your volleyball program?
Well, I mean, I think Furman draws such sharp student athletes. So, you know, we're really just looking for, you know, kids who have their heads screwed on tight and are willing to be challenged and understand that, you know, in order to win, it is not going to be rainbows and sunshine all the time. And you're going to have to work hard. It is a lot more fun to, you know, win than lose. And winning takes a lot of work. And so we're really upfront with, you know, what it is going to take to be successful, and that you could do all these things and it's not a guarantee for your success. Just like in life, you know, you can work really hard. Like our team that, you know, our teams that struggle didn't work any less than our teams that were successful. You know, a lot of things have to go well. You have to stay healthy. I think we talk a lot about that, just getting them, just seeing how they respond to that, because it's not going to get any easier once you commit to us. But I think we do talk a lot about, you know, we have a lot of perspective. You know, you're not going to go play pro after this. You're going to need to have a good education. We want you to be successful there. We want to help you do that. We're not going to micromanage you. This is kind of your last step to head out into the real world. You know, college athletics isn't necessarily reality where people are handing you gear and they have all your meals ready for you and they tell you exactly what to do every time. And so just trying to get them ready for that as well. I think that we also want to talk about, you know, this isn't the only thing I do. I think that's where like being a mom and having a, you know, a family life comes in. We talk to them about, you know, we want you to have a life. We want you to go out and learn all these new things while you can in college. This is not all I do. I don't sit and think about volleyball 24/7 and I'm going to be in here and we're going to use every hour the NCAA gives us, you know, and do all these things because I have things I have to go do. Just like they are going to have things that they have to go do. But when we are in the gym, that is a priority. Just like when I'm in the gym, you're my priority and we have to, you know, really focus on that. And so I think just as a mom, you know, just someone who's always had kids as a coach, you're juggling things just like being a student athlete. And we talk a lot about that in the recruiting process, not because they're moms, you know, they might be moms, they might not, but they're going to have to juggle a lot of things and they're going to have to prioritize and compartmentalize their day. And so, you know, the good news is that Furman draws such, like I said, sharp kids that they're able to do that. I think, but we want them to know what they're getting into. And I want them to know that, you know, when the going gets tough, my family is my priority. And I want you to make your family your priority. But when we're together, we're working. When we're away, you know, go, you know, learn something new, meet new people, do these things. And I just really enjoy having the perspective of a family because I'm not so caught up in like, this is everything. And then I'm going to ruin my student athletes' lives because you know, they think it's everything and this person's crazy. And I think we can get a lot done and be really efficient with our time. And I just think that that's kind of the way to go about it is just if I'm respecting their time and allowing them to be successful elsewhere, they're going to work harder for us in the gym. And that's what we want to try to do for them. But I think it just being a working mom gives you perspective. You know, it's just, a lot of things are going on now that the perspective is I'm home. I get to be home with my whole family all the time and we're healthy and it's a great thing. And I really enjoy doing that right now. And I hope that our players are able to do the same thing at home.
Jackie, to take that same question in a little bit of a different direction, as a college coach, you obviously have standards that every player has to adhere to. You also have to learn players' personalities, and you can motivate one player differently sometimes than you can motivate another player. Everybody doesn't respond the same way. At the same time, I've seen a number of your practices, and you are demanding during that practice time. So on the recruiting trail, you have to identify young ladies who can take that style of coaching. How does that process work?
Yeah, so the one thing is that I tell our staff all the time is we got to get young ladies that are a really good fit. It can't be just about basketball, and it can't be just about just about academics. You have to want excellence in both, and so that's our biggest push. I'm not a big time yeller, but I do like things done. I have a military dad, so my mom is actually on this call, and my mom didn't let me settle for anything less than what the best was. And so it's really hard for me as a coach to understand if you're giving anything less than what the absolute best is, and that's how we're going to be able to compete for championships, is just because you got to have people around you. I tell them all the time, I don't know how to coach anyone who doesn't want to win. I don't know how to coach anyone who doesn't want to absolutely strive to be the best. So that's my struggle. So our young ladies are good at getting, I'm very truthful. I'm very kind of matter of fact. Like I said, I played for a yeller, and I love Sherry Carter. She made me a much stronger woman, but she yelled all the time, and I learned how to tune that out. So I always thought about just not being a big time yeller, but I just recruiting and having young women that want the absolute highest standard. Our motto is be distinct. It's our core values. We don't want to be like anyone else. We surround ourselves with powerful women. Iron sharpens iron. We say these things all the time. Also on the call is a lot of our women of distinction mentors. We surround our girls with mentors in the Greenville community that are powerful women as well, to show them how to do it in every single workforce. So we have lawyers, we have, Furman employees in different areas of Furman, we have doctors, we have everything, so the best way is we have to recruit young ladies who want to be excellent. So, and that can take the time demands, because, Jason alluded to in our meeting, basketball is year round. So it's a whole different grind, not to say it's not from other sports, but they rarely go home. We hit every major school holiday. Besides Easter break, there is no spring break, there is no Christmas break, there isn't. So it's a whole different demand. And so you have to be prepared for that, mentally, physically. And we want to show our girls that me as a mom, I can do that. My staff is amazing with families, and just, we got to lean on each other a lot in a family atmosphere. So that's the biggest thing.
Jackie's mom, I don't know where you are, but you should be proud of this young lady and military background. Who would have ever guessed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. She's the true diva. So it goes Shirley, then maybe Jackie, then Rob. So I get it from her.
Okay. Now that's your story, and you're sticking to it.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
We've got about 8 or 10 minutes left, so let's try to get through as many of these questions as we can. I'll go back to Rachel to start this one. Our own Aaron Wissing, and then again, I want all three of you to answer this. But Aaron wants to know the biggest lesson motherhood has taught you, Rachel, that's influenced your work.
Oh, that's a tough one, Aaron. I think, for me, it's that you always have more love to give. I mean, I think there's days that, like now, that luckily my children are staying inside. I can't believe it right now. But there's days that there's struggle, but it's almost when the struggle happens is when you actually find out who you are. And I think it's the same thing with my team, and it's made me a better person. And the games where, I thought we would have win, or we just weren't the team we were supposed to be, is when I've actually taken a look back at maybe myself more than just my team. Like, what am I doing to make us better? And I think that it comes with both. Like Michelle said, you're never going to be perfect with everything. I don't strive for perfection because I know it's not possible. I strive to be the best I can in that moment. And I work the hardest to get there. And then hopefully each day I get better. And I think that's kind of, looking at the way I parent with my children. There's days that I'm great at it, and there's days that I'm probably not the best mom for whatever reason, but I learn, I get better, and then I make changes. And I think that's the biggest thing, is if you can start to make the changes better. And that's what we try to tell our team too. Even if you're only getting better 1% a day, you're getting better. And that's what hopefully they take away.
Michelle, how has being a mother influenced your job?
I think like I mentioned it earlier, just perspective. I mean, do I want to win all the time? Absolutely. But I think it just reminds you that it's not everything, because when my kids were little, they would run across the court and they could care less if we won or lost. And it just gives you like that refreshing thing. Cause when I did have as an athlete and as early in my like the first few years that I did not have kids, I just would stew on stuff and be so mad. And now there's just no time to be mad, because you have to shift gears into something else, your family. We have a very competitive family. So you do talk about it, especially now that they're older, they know when I'm so mad, and they can come over and be like, sorry, mom, or they have a comment about something we did terribly and they're not afraid to share it now. But I think it just softens the bad moments a little bit, because you realize there's more to life. But I think it also has helped me, just like, when you're a parent, you make mistakes. You make mistakes as a coach on how you treat your players. Sometimes you think something's a great idea and it really doesn't work out the way you wanted it to. But I think you're just a little more sensitive to how you treat those people and those athletes, because they're, some of them are really far away from home. I think the college, I love this age because there's so much changing in their lives and they're learning who they are and they're making mistakes and you're trying to work with them. And I think just being a mom, especially now that I have a college age student, you need those people in their lives just to kind of help them. We make it really clear that I'm not their mom when they're here. And I give them enough freedom to make some mistakes, but we want to be there for them to help them through them. And I really think it's given perspective and just how we're dealing with these kids. We're giving, a little bit more grace maybe. And just that way we're kind of working with them a little more sensitive to their needs. But I think at the same time, being on the other side of it, when I was an athlete, oh my gosh, this is so hard. And I've got to run these suicides and, oh my gosh, how dare we, it was so hard. And now being on the other side of it, I would love to go be a college athlete again. And not have, mortgage payments and daycare pay, all these things. So you can kind of be like, hey, this is the best time of your life. And it does allow you to push them in a way that is practical and give them perspective. Hey, this really isn't that hard. You're going to be okay. Just wait till you have some real problems.
Jackie, I like throwing you the curveballs for some reason.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, well, that's what I do. But does it work the other way? Has coaching influenced your motherhood at all?
Yes, I would definitely say so. Because at the end of the day, certain things are not a big deal. It goes both ways. Like I used to stress about every detail of coaching, every detail of trying to be a mom and try somewhat of a perfectionist. So like you said, life's going to throw you some curveballs and you just kind of keep swinging and you're going to connect with one of them. And it's the same thing with motherhood. It's the same thing with coaching. Some days I'm going to be really, really good mom and I feel like I'm the mom of the year. And then some days I'm like, oh my gosh, I talk to other moms and they're like, oh, little Betty's in the bed by 6. And I'm like, I'm not even home at 6, and so, but at the same time, with the coaching part of it, I realized that I have someone's daughter. And that's what happened as soon as I became a mom. It's not just like, that's my player. I have someone's daughter and I take it very serious when somebody, I tell our parents in the recruiting, I'm going to take care of your daughter. I have her from 18 to 22. That's almost the most impressionable, years that she could find her significant other. There's so many things that are going to happen. Her career, her life shifts, and I'm going to take care of her while all of that has. I'm going to push her and she's not going to always like me, but I'm going to push her to be the best. So that has shifted over to me trying to do the same thing for my kids, but at the same time doing that for someone else's daughter.
Thank you, Jackie. We're going to make this the final question, and Krista Beachy submitted this. So about 30 seconds for each of you here. But looking back to when you first started balancing being a coach and a mother, if Rachel Whitten today could give Rachel Whitten then one piece of advice, Rachel, what would it be?
I guess it's not going to be easy. It's absolutely going to be worth it. It is thousandfold. And to lean on people for support. Don't try to do it all by yourself, because I think there's times where I think that I can do it all. But I think there's a reason that you have a partner in all of this. There's a reason that your assistants are fantastic. Whether you have family in the area, I don't, but we've got neighbors who would help us in Michelle's situation pick up my daughter or son if they were sick and we couldn't get there. So I think do it, dig in, and enjoy the ride. Even when it's the low moments, I think I still find laughter in the dumb decisions I might have made. But I think enjoy it all because it goes so fast. And mine are only 4 and 5. So I can only imagine what Michelle thinks with a kid about to go to college. But it goes fast, and I think don't take it for granted.
Michelle, what would you tell your younger self?
I mean, just to have a cliche, I mean, nothing worth doing is going to be easy. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's hard, but it's great. And I love it. It makes me a better person. Whatever, it's great. But I will say, just if you are, take your maternity leave. Don't be like me and, have a child and then you have a carrier on the court a week later while you're tossing balls or something crazy. So take your time to come back, enjoy it, because like Rachel's mentioning, people tell you it goes quick and you're like, yeah, I know. It goes so fast. It's crazy. And I will say that with each of my children, my maternity leave got a little bit longer. And with my third, I finally took the full one, and it was great. So don't feel the pressure that you got to get right back there. You have great staff people that you're going to be better for it. So that would be my hot tip.
Jackie, you get the last word. What would you tell the younger Jackie?
To not feel bad when you have to miss something. So I would try to, I just remember one instinct, and my staff is phenomenal. And London played her first basketball, and she had her awards ceremony, and it was in the middle of practice. And it was like a look on my face, and my staff's like, go, we got it. And so I drove to downtown Greenville. I saw the smile and the look on her face, and it was phenomenal. And that's something I always remember. And then I made it back to practice. And that didn't win us or lose us a game, me going away for 35 minutes. My staff has it. They're phenomenal, and it's a village. So don't apologize for the things that you might miss, and take some moments. And yeah, that's me living on the edge. Oh, I missed 30 minutes of practice. Like, it wasn't that serious, but the look on London's face, I'll take that all day long. So don't feel guilty for the things that you have to miss, and kind of just focus on the moments that it makes. So
I think we're all blessed, if we're honest, to say that we are blessed to work at a university that allows us to foster that kind of environment, that we can be professionals in our chosen field, but we can also be the parents that we need to be. And not every school or not every job inside of every school is like that. So listen, thank you, Rachel Whitten, Michelle Young, Jackie Carson, for being our panel here today, and for all of the other mothers on here. Happy early Mother's Day to you. You are all phenomenal, and we're so thankful to have you with us. Ty, any words before we wrap it up? Ty Osborne?
Just to reiterate what you said, thank you so much to Michelle, Rachel, Jackie for the really open and honest conversation. So thank you guys so much. That was awesome. Next week, we have another perspective that we get to hear about from some of our senior student athletes. So we'll be putting some information on social media about who they might be. So please pay attention to @Furman Paladins, and we'll debut the information for next Tuesday's Lunch and Learn at noon. But thank you so much to our panel. Hope everyone's gotten their gifts or labor of love ready for their Mother's Day this weekend. But thank you again.